In a world where there are too many comic books to keep up with, one podcast has the stones to bring you all of your comic book needs. Week by week, book by book. One epic show. You are now tuned in to Nerd Church Radio.
Hello and welcome to NCR Communion number 7. I'm your host, Ben Dupay.
Hello, I am Noah O'Toole.
And I'm Ariel Dupay.
We're your DC comic book overlords. How's everyone doing this week?
Fantastic.
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Noah, you've been
good and exhausted, yeah.
Jamming on school and,
Yep.
and Injustice?
Yep, school started a new part-time job, all this all in the same week. And
how's that going, the new job?
Very good, I love it. I'm working part-time at an antique store, and so
nice.
That's right up my alley. It's kind of like a consignment shop, antique store thing, and of course my first day on the job, and I spot a giant framed Farrah Fawcett poster, and so it came home with me.
Yeah. That's part of the problem with working at Mayhem too. Is
right.
And they'll offer to pay you a better hourly rate in store credit.
Oh, really? Smart on their part.
Yeah.
That's tempting to.
Then it's like, oh man, I gotta stop spending money.
Yeah.
So, Ariel, how are you doing?
Good. I have a goal with myself to get through all the Netflix horror movies.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I probably am 30 movies in, just from ones we watch, and I watched about 3 in the last couple of days. It's really fun.
I bet,
Even the bad ones at least give me a laugh.
Yeah.
I really want to... Have you seen Reanimator?
Oh boy, that's old, right?
Yeah.
If I did, it was when I was young, was probably scared by it and didn't watch it.
Yeah,
watch it all the way
crazy,
through, it was
man.
Right.
But there
are
some sequels that I want to watch now, because there's like a Bride of the Reanimator, and and I've heard that they're just as good as the first, which Ariel doesn't like the first one. I love it because it's just such a crappy B-rate horror movie. It's like Evil Dead for me, It's one of those things I just love. So. Yeah, so we are a DC Comics fan podcast where we recap, rate, and review all the weekly comic book releases that come out of DC Comics, specifically DC Rebirth and what's happening now with all that. We are a spoiler podcast here at NCR, or a Stephanie Brown podcast, as Noah likes to say. So we do spoil all the comic books. That means plot beats, character developments, all that fun stuff. So if you haven't read the books and you don't want to know what happens, just hit that pause button, read the books, and get back to us after you've read them. We do host a website where Noah, Ariel, and I write written reviews for all of the comic books as well. If you want to check out our written reviews, we are at nerdchurchradio.com, or you can check us out on comicbookroundup.com. If you want to help us keep the lights on, we do have a Patreon page where you can donate to our humble cause. You can find that at patreon.com/nerdchurchradio, and we have all sorts of fun rewards there for you to donate to, so that's always fun. We do have a listener line where you can call and leave us a voicemail, and if it's nice, we will play it on the show. We had one that was not so nice earlier this week for Indie Comic Ninja, but if you leave us a message with something fun or what you think about the books or anything like that, if it relates to the comic books, we'll play it on the show. If you do want to have your voice heard on the show, but you don't want to have your actual voice heard on the show, you can email us at nerdchurchradio@gmail.com, where we'll read what you have to say on the show and respond to it. As always, we want to promote you guys to, or encourage you guys to like, rate, subscribe, and review us. So we want iTunes reviews, or what we live and breathe off of. We would really appreciate if you guys would send us some iTunes reviews. We do love those 5-star reviews. If you want to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, whatever podcast thing you listen to, that's fine. So we have a lot of books to cover this week because DC Mass isn't happening, so Communion is picking up the slack. So I'm going to just move things off to the news real quick. All right, and for news this week, I'm going to defer to Ariel. What do you have for the news for this week?
So, not comic book, but pretty big news. A Draft House in, oh my gosh, it just exited out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, in Austin, Texas, they are having a women's only screening of Wonder Woman. And their statement was, apologies, gentlemen, but we're embracing our girl power and saying no guys allowed for one special night at the Alamo Ritz. And when we say people who identify as women only, we mean it. Everyone working at the screening venue, staff, projectionists, and culinary team will be female. And there's been quite an upset.
Yeah, people have been pissed about it.
Yeah, I mean, people are pissed about it. I don't know, man. To me, it's like I really couldn't care less. Like, I imagine there's more than one theater in this town, so it's like,
right. That's kind of what I'm.
If you want to go
thinking.
see Wonder Woman, just go see it in another theater.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, as a man that loves Wonder Woman, I would be disappointed if like I lived right next door or something. I guess, but I'd still be like, whatever, girl. I mean, go woman power. That's the point of the movie. It's like it's a huge.
The crazy thing is they've said we're having other screenings of it, like at the same time. It's just this one room is going to be just female.
Yeah, and like the whole thing is like people are upset because it's like, well, if you flip the switch and it's just you have a man's only thing, or you know, then what if you get into like race and stuff like that? But it's like
it's been men only for hundreds of years, so it's not that big a deal that we have a woman's only showing of Wonder Woman.
Like, it's just such a small, like, I don't know, the internet's gonna internet, you know. I mean, they're gonna get pissed about it, whatever.
And
like
SJWs are gonna come out and
and that's whatever. I mean, like, honestly, I don't really go for or against this. I couldn't care. Like, you know, if you want to, that's great. I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. You know, even if I did live in this town, it wouldn't affect me. I'd just go to a different screening. I mean, that's cool. Like, I'm totally fine with it. You know,
right? You want to encourage things that promote those type of values and themes. So
man. I mean, Wonder Woman's an important movie. So if there's any, for me, it's like I don't really care if you have like something that's excluding other people. It's more just like, if you're having an event that promotes this movie, which in turn promotes like strong female-led superhero movies, then that's great by me. I mean, any type of event that encourages that's awesome. Like, I'm happy to see it happening. I'm happy to see them like they're promoting this movie really heavily in the last, like, in the home stretch here.
Well, now in the home stretch, I kind of had some thoughts because I mean, I think back to Suicide Squad and Superman versus Batman and this movie has not gotten a lot of the media bombardment, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not
but
at all.
I feel they could have done a little bit heavier commercials during primetime type things.
Yeah, a lot of people said that, and I heard a lot of people opposing it too, because like I listen to podcasts like DC Movie News where they live out in Hollywood, and they were talking about like how a lot of people are saying they aren't really promoting Wonder Woman, and they're like, well, I live out in Hollywood, man, and like every billboard I see has Wonder Woman on it, and like, so I think like Suicide Squad, maybe that was like they're really pushing it to like, I don't know, like on TV commercials and like I don't.
But even that notwithstanding, it's still. I mean, this may be part of your news coming up, but it's still the most anticipated summer movie, beating out Spider-Man and one other big summer movie as far as anticipation. And so you know that's great. Even
I'm good
no matter
with
what
it.
people are going to see it. So I'm so happy that it's getting such a steam rolling behind it.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
excited that we're hearing good things about it. I was really nervous.
Yeah, and like I've heard good things about it, but I ignore all of that because the way my head works is like I am totally pro Wonder Woman. I'm totally pro like wanting this movie to succeed. But I know I don't like Warner Brothers. I just, as a company, I feel like they've handled some of the heroes that I love in the wrong way and stuff. So my thoughts were like, okay, you've embargoed the reviews until the day before the movie comes out, and you're only letting certain people into screenings and having those responses go out. So it seemed like at first I was worried that it was a very controlled thing where it's like you're only letting the good reviews get out. But then I listen to DC Movie News, which I trust those guys because they only talk about DC Movie News. And one of them saw Wonder Woman, and they said that the movie was good, and I got kind of like a spoiler-free review from them. And then it was like, okay, this is awesome. Like, it sort of eased my mind a little bit. Like, I actually heard it from someone that I trust, you know, whereas, like, rather than just random stuff on the internet. So I'm stoked, man. I'm so excited.
A big problem is they give so much away in the trailer. The last trailer Ben tried having me watch, I closed my eyes and plugged my ears. Like, trailers are horrible nowadays.
They've done well with this one though.
Yeah,
this one's been better than previous,
Much
but
better.
yeah, it is kind of. I mean, it is
still
really big
probably.
spoiler alert, especially if you have a working knowledge of the characters.
Yeah.
You can kind of piece together a lot of the plot, but you know, it's still exciting and it's all good. But
I feel like they learned their lesson with Doomsday and Batman v Superman, because a lot of people were in an uproar about like, why did you like show us that? That could have been such a cool reveal, which it wouldn't have been either way because it wasn't handled right. But I mean, I think like that's why we haven't seen Ares.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
and that's been pretty cool. And I've heard there's some other like surprise things that happen in the movie that you're not gonna see coming, and like that's awesome, man. I'm just, and like part of it is like maybe the marketing wasn't as heavy because they didn't want to give stuff like that away on this one. Maybe they want to, you know, because on Batman v Superman there was so much of a push that like I felt like I had seen the whole movie before I wanted to see it. Whereas,
I'm more a little disappointed we don't have like Happy Meal tie-in or things that might reach a little bit, but
younger crowd,
and wider audience and stuff. But
but I want all the surprise in the world for this one. I'm so excited for it. So what else you got for news, Ariel?
So I know we're on this podcast, we're huge supporters of small businesses. There's a comic shop in Riverdale, California, that is the first and only Black woman who's disabled who owns this comic shop. And she wants to move locations to make it more accessible to other people. So she's on Kickstarter, and she's trying to raise $6,000. I just want to throw that Kickstarter out there. And
what's the web address for it?
It is Kickstarter.com/project/help-visionary-comics-get a new store with dashes in between all the words. But it was really cool, and I read her story, and it's just a really inspirational thing. And I love small businesses.
Right. Nice.
We'll always choose Mayhem over like Jay's. So
yeah. Well, they've always been. You know, I work there, so I'm kind of biased. But yeah, that's awesome. Definitely go support those guys. Her name's Jasmine or whatever. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
And then so this has been kind of going around for a while. People are wondering, is Justice League International going to show up in Rebirth? And then what I'll talk about today is Jella A. There's a little frozen baby boy, which I didn't know, but apparently it has some tie-ins to International.
Yep.
So someone made a list online of like all the reasons why International are going to come. And have you guys ever heard of Booster Gold?
Oh yeah,
of course.
He's fantastic. Yeah,
a lot of people are saying like he may be more involved in the DC universe than you would think right now.
And I think it's because Guy's here and Martian Manhunter, which from that poster, I was staring at this poster earlier. This came out before Rebirth even started. Yeah,
and for listeners out there, it's the DC Universe Rebirth #1 cover that shows like literally all the big splash. All the Rebirth characters.
And I think we've seen everyone except Shazam and Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, that makes me excited though because I love Fire and Ice, and they're two members, and so obviously we'll get the Ice connection here when we talk later. But
I'm trying to see. I know there's others that we haven't seen yet, but I forget who. There's a couple. I'll point them out to you after the show.
Anyway, so and they're thinking because there's the Wave Rider, which he kind of goes involved in the time stream. Because have you noticed that almost every comic that's going on, there's something going on with time.
Right.
There's people from the future coming in and people from the past being like, oh, screw you. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I wrote that off as like just a DC Comics books thing because with the multiverse and stuff. But is there like more, I guess Booster Gold is a time traveler. Right?
Yeah, he actually goes and fixes anomalies.
Mm-hmm. One, I mean, the whole DC Universe Rebirth thing is founded upon like, time was stolen from us.
Yeah, and one of his future, like everybody has superpowers because of technology and stuff, and he wanted to be, like a hero. So he goes back in time to be a superhero, but he's a bumbling average guy in real, but from the future. So it can be pretty funny in some of his appearances.
So you guys, if you're interested, go online and just look up Booster Gold's involvement in Rebirth. There's pretty cool fan theories.
Yeah, nice.
That's all I have for news.
Okay. Yeah, and there's the whole, like, Zack Snyder leaving the Justice League thing, which kind of sucks. I mean, like, it doesn't sucked for the movie. It sucks because like his daughter committed suicide, and that's awful, man. And like I don't know, like our thoughts and prayers go out to him. Obviously, like yeah, dude. I mean, like they wanted to pick up and go to London to do the reshoots, and Zack Snyder's obviously like, well, I want to stay here with my family. So yeah, I mean, like real life comes before fantasy every day. So yeah, that's all we got for news this week. Did you have anything new?
Nope.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll move things on to the book reviews. All right, so we are going to start things off this week with Batman Beyond. Man, I suck. I don't have the number or the creator.
Number 8, writer by Dan Jurgens, artist Bernard Chang, and colors by Marcelo
Maiolo. Yep. Okay, so with the suit of pure destruction, Terry is slowly deteriorating into a soul-fighting machine. When one of Raz's goons show up, the team have to beg Terry to leave to go address the bigger picture. Raz himself. But Terry's newfound aggression and angst causes the life of Curari to be ended. That is until someone throws her into the Lazarus pit, every bad guy's plan B in the DC universe. So then we learn why this suit is so dangerous. It's meant to have the wearer be the perfect soldier, like no pain, no tiredness, no fighting, no sickness, just perfect fighting machine. Bruce learned the hard way that there was a cost to such a deadly weapon. This simple latex creation cost the Batman his career. Will it do the same to Terry? Terry is all geared up and ready to take on the legend himself, Ra's al Ghul. But Bruce Wayne knows that Ra's is long gone, and the new Emperor of the Shadows is none other than Damian Wayne, which is like that. Go figure. You know, like I mean, like I kind of like. It's kind of crazy to see that happen at the end or whatever, but it's like I guess I can understand it. Someone told me that all of the events in Batman Beyond are in canon with they're part of the DC universe. They're just in the future.
But aren't they also on an alternate Earth?
Nope.
Because
I mean,
in one of the things with Superman, remember when he was on the musical boat and whatever and traveled to all the different multiverses to speak with the Supermen and recruit them. One of the universes he went to was the Batman Beyond universe.
Oh, really?
So that makes me wonder if they just messed something up in continuity, or if it's actually set in I don't know, on an alternate. I mean, like a multiverse planet. But I guess
I from what I understand, I thought it was part of the just standard DC universe. But I don't know. I feel like when I heard that though, I was a bit surprised because it's like that. To tell everyone what this universe ends up like years from now seems like
spoiler alert.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
so we know Damian lives.
Yeah, well, and we know he becomes
bad.
Bad or Ra's al Ghul or the Demon's Head or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. It was a good book though. I've been on and off on Batman Beyond as far as reading it. I'm about to stay on it though because it's been one that's kind of surprised me pleasantly. Like I came into it not like I never really watched the Batman Beyond TV shows.
Yeah.
Just didn't interest me very much. Just not something like I love Batman, but I just an alternate Earth Batman. I'm a really hard sell for multiverse stories too. Like I don't really care about like Earth 57 Superman. You know, it's just a different version of the one I like. So, but this book has been good. I mean, like the characters have been good. I think the way they've addressed the Joker has been pretty fun and cool. I like Terry, and the artwork's just fantastic. So, what do y'all think of this book?
This one I didn't read. This was one of the other shows. Books, and we got and I just didn't get time to get it read. So.
What'd you think of it, Ariel?
So I've been reading it since the beginning. I've liked it. They're really big on bringing back the big bads. We just found out Joker's still alive. We thought Ra's was still alive. The only thing is the team gets really creative on their panel layout. Like one time was like the eyes of Batman. It was inside of it.
Yeah. And
it was cool, but it was so much of that stuff that I was like, okay, I just want to read the freaking book.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I don't know. I mean, like, I kind of like it when they do stuff like that. Like Titans is one where they do a lot of weird panel layouts, and I've always enjoyed it. I mean, at first I didn't like it because it was kind of off-putting, but once you get into it, it kind of like if it's done the right way, it guides your eyes through the story really well.
Right.
You know, if they do it right. If they do it wrong, then it's like, okay, this is a pain in the ass to read and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of that on this one, but it's not enough that it didn't hurt it for me. So
I think it's funny because we always talk about, you know, what's more important, the art or the story.
Right.
And it's how it's very individualized. I'm all about the story. Sometimes I don't even think I acknowledge the drawings because I'm all about the story.
Yeah.
And Ben, you're a lot more visual person. So it's kind of to see our conflicting views on that.
I mean, I think like artists pay a little closer attention to the art maybe sometimes, or not even just artists, people who are like artistically inclined. Like you do web design, Noah, so I mean, you design visual things.
Right.
So you're probably like, even like layouts and stuff. Like,
yeah, I'm definitely, I mean, you definitely need both to make it great, but I would much rather follow the story with my eyes visually on the pictures, you know, than
I mean, it's not a novel; it's a graphic novel.
Exactly.
So art's a huge part of that. I mean, it's like watching a cartoon. You know, it's a lot of the time like if you can love a story a lot and not notice the art, and like if you didn't notice it, that a lot of times mean that they did a really good job with it, you know, if you just felt like you were watching a story unfold. So we do have a rating system here at NCR, so I'll play that rating system so you know what we're talking about.
If a comic book is bad, we rate it as blasphemy. If the book is good, we give our blessing. If the book is not bad, not good, but just kind of meh, we rate it as stuck in purgatory. If the book is great, we rate it as holy. And if a comic book exceeds all standards of awesomeness, we rate that book as salvation.
So, I don't know, man. On this one, it's a tough rate for me because I've not been into it a whole lot, but it's still a fun book. I think I'm in a blessing on this one. I don't think I want to go all the way up to holy. What do you think, Ariel?
I gave it a blessing too. There were previous issues that made it holy, but I think they're trying to keep the excitement level up, and sometimes that doesn't always fall.
Okay, cool. Well, we will move things on to Wonder Woman.
All right, exciting. Wonder Woman number 23, story by Greg Rucka, art by Liam Sharp. This is the conclusion of The Truth. So, the story so far, Phobos and Deimos, who are the twin sons of Ares, have kidnapped the soul of Veronica Cale's daughter, Izzy. Veronica Cale has discovered the location of Themyscira, and she and Wonder Woman are now face-to-face with Ares in his prison. So we start off by hearing Ares tell Diana his story. As the god of war, his hunger was insatiable and drove him to madness. Hephaestus forged chains to bind Ares, but it turns out it was Aphrodite and her love alone that was finally able to bind him and bring him to peace. To keep him safe and protect others from those who may wish to usurp his power, I think is how you pronounce it. I know what it means, but to overthrow him, the Amazons were created to guard Ares and the prison. So now Phobos and Deimos have attacked Themyscira. The patron gods and goddesses of the Amazons, in animal form, stand vigilant. A closer look at the details shows a new animal among the gods and goddesses, a serpent. The same one that bit Diana as a child has now joined the pantheon. The serpent that joined Hera, Aphrodite, Athena, and the other gods and goddesses is none other than Ares himself. He knew his sons would one day seek his prison and attempt to overthrow him as the god of war, unleashing panic and terror on the world. To prevent this, Ares gave Diana a gift, quote-unquote, the bite she received as a girl, which enabled her to bypass Themyscira and go straight to the prison where Ares is, should the need arise. This way, the location of Themyscira and the Amazons would continue to remain hidden. Now, Diana knows what she must do. Phobos and Deimos breach the prison and find Wonder Woman, kneeling submissively before them, bound with her own lasso. Compelled to speak the truth, Diana tells Phobos and Deimos that they are loved. Just as Aphrodite's unconditional love was able to bind Ares in his madness, so was Diana's love able to bind Phobos and Deimos. And as the story concludes, Ares opens the gateway back to the real world, where Steve Trevor is waiting for Diana. However, Veronica Cale's daughter Izzy is unable to leave. It turns out by bringing her body to the prison where her soul was being held, did reunite them, but if she were to return to the real world again, they would split apart. The only solution? Join the Amazons on Themyscira and live an eternal life, but one where she'll never see her mother again, mirroring Diana herself, who's going to continue to live in her world and never see her mother again.
I mean, like that, and I can get behind that. Like, I don't know. I really like it.
That was super poetic.
It was, and it's also like, as a mom, it's like, okay, well, I mean, it sucks that you're never gonna see like your daughter again. Thinking, not me as a mom, like thinking about
it. Right.
No, thinking about it from Veronica Cale's perspective, I should have said.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it sucks to send your daughter away, but it's like she's going to be with the Amazon. You know,
right?
Like
she's going to live an eternal life.
I know, man. Like that's kind of awesome.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And mirroring all that in the final panel, we see Hippolyta saying that she's always been proud of her daughter Diana, and that's the closest Wonder Woman it looks like we'll ever get to being home.
So we're at the end of the Truth story arc, and
Yep.
we still really never found out like what the truth was as far as like her memories being taken away from her or whatever, right?
I don't think so. I mean, to me, I got the full circle answers I need. There's a lot of things I think we're not going to find out a lot about until we get to the bottom of some of the Rebirth stuff
In November.
and I think there's going to be a lot of things tied to that with obviously
Dr. Manhattan
and the Watchmen universe and all this stuff. This story from Rucka specifically, focused on her and her background and more the events when she's returned to Themyscira and some of the things. And it turns out all that's phony. So he was able to erase a lot of the things a lot of us didn't like, maybe about some of her former past and stories.
Yeah.
But he did it in such an ambiguous way that we can almost pick and choose what we want to be part of her narrative now.
Yeah, and that's
until Rebirth tells us otherwise. I guess.
think that's a good way to do it in DC Comics, because it's like you really can't, like, if you draw too much stuff, like spell it out for people, it's going to be very divisive, where fans are going to be like, well, I was reading comics back in this and now that doesn't make sense. So like, it's
right.
like it's good to like leave some things up to your imagination a little bit when you're writing a story that's been going on for decades.
Right. And for me, the biggest takeaway of this isn't like, what's the deal with Wonder Woman's history since day one? To me, this more set her back on track from the New 52, where she was the god of war, where her mother was blonde and got turned to stone, and where the gods were just all completely different. And to me, it more kind of took that off the slate and left us with the classic version that most of us know. The only question we didn't get answered, at least that I've discovered that I wanted to know, is if she's made of clay or the daughter of Zeus.
Yeah.
And Hippolyta. He left that very ambiguous, still kind of open. I mean, since New 52 doesn't exist, kind of according to that, it would imply.
We do have two more issues. Well,
one.
We have three more. Because we have the annual next week, then we have 24 and 25, right?
The annual's not part of it.
Yeah, the annual. The annual shouldn't probably fit. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But
it's written by Rucka,
right.
I mean,
but it's drawn by Nicholas Scott. So I have a feeling we're going to get like more of a throwback back to when she drew it. Your one like style things,
collected stories. So it's probably some shit that like Rucka threw down back. Like when Rebirth started, and it just didn't make it an issue.
But I almost wish this was the last one, because to me it's got a nice bow on it, and I'm kind of hesitant to see how he's going to handle like the next issue, which is actually set in the past compared to this issue.
So does Shea Fontana start on issue 25 then?
I'm thinking so.
Oh, I thought she started on number 26.
Do we find out what happens to Cheetah?
Nope, she's on the island with Trevor still.
Okay.
Neither one of them got in, but for me, I'll just last thing on that, because I know I could talk forever about this, because I thought it was I loved it. But I thought for me he answered the most important questions behind her missing memories, and did it in a way that would make her creator proud, because in this issue, which is the culmination of the whole story, she didn't raise her fists once. She didn't fight anybody the entire issue. And it was great. And she used the power of loving submission, saying, look, I'm going to be powerless before you and say, I love you, and show you, my weakness or not weakness, but I mean, that power of loving submission. And it just brought her back to her original roots. And for me, cue the heavenly music, it was a salvation. And I absolutely loved it.
Nice. Yeah. I heard a lot of people I'm sorry, I shouldn't say a lot of people. There were certain people that I listened to on a podcast that were maybe upset that like they just kind of blew it off and they didn't have like an all-out fight between these two and Wonder Woman. What are their names?
Phobos and Deimos?
Yeah, Phobos and Deimos. Mm-hmm. They were like, they just blew it off, and they just did like, oh, you're loved, and like hug it out. And to me, that's like that's Wonder Woman.
To me, that was way more powerful than her having a slugfest.
To me, like that's like almost saying like, okay, that's what the new 52 Wonder Woman would have done, and was like beat the shit out of him.
She would have grabbed that stupid sword and hacked him to death. And this time, she uses her lasso, like her good weapon, her offensive weapon, and
and to me, that's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how you can get upset about that, because you're taking the old Wonder Woman and putting her back into place where like that's how she solves her problems, truth and hope and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm super excited about like the way they handled it. I enjoyed it. What did you think, Ariel?
I liked it a lot. The cover was freaking amazing. I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Was Rucka was this like how he's going to end his story, or was he kind of rushed because he wasn't going to be on the project anymore?
I feel like this was the plan all along.
Okay.
Because we're kind of at an even number as far as issue 25 and all that stuff. So,
Wonder Woman number 25, available June 28, 2017. Writer Greg Rucka weaves together the threads of The Lies, Year One, The Truth, and Godwatch, every story in Wonder Woman since the start of the DC Universe Rebirth era, in this extra-sized anniversary issue.
Oh, nice. So we will get one giant cumulative issue.
That's going to be the finale of everything.
So we still might get some more answers. I was just thrilled with this, and we found out that when she fought Ares back when she first arrived,
Nicholas Scott story.
Yeah, the Nicholas Scott story, and it was cool. And she bound him, and then all of a sudden he exploded into all those all those evil animals and stuff. And that was Phobos and Deimos in disguise all along.
Yeah,
and we find that out, and it was cool. It was so cool.
It's nice to know that they're going to be paying it off in one oversized issue, and I'm stoked for that. What's Godwatch? What's Godwatch?
That's the Year One story, basically, where Veronica Cale's trying to find whatever this god link is that will enable them to get a portal to Themyscira.
So there was The Lies and the Truth, and that was the current, that was the Liam Sharp story. Then there was Year One and Godwatch, and that was the
Nicholas Scott
and the other one.
Yeah.
That other writer or artist that we don't care enough about. Right who's drawing this one, I wonder? Oh, man, it doesn't say on Comixology. Oh, well. Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I'll bet it's going to be, both artists.
That'd be cool.
Especially
if it's an oversized issue, a lot of times they'll bring in different artists for different sequences and things.
I'm hoping number 24 isn't, a throwaway issue, because number 22 was kind of a throwaway issue.
I know, that's why I'm...
And I'm like, okay, let's just get to 25.
Right, what's he going to do that can top what happened this last issue, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it almost feels like they already wrapped up that story, and they're just kind of biding a little time now to get on to the next thing.
Yeah,
so.
I hope we'll see more Cersei.
Yeah,
but that's just my wish. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Oh man, Cersei. Oh, there's some stuff.
Yes,
stuff brewing. I can't say anything about it now, but next week we'll be talking about it. It's exciting. So, all right, cool. We will move things on here to Hal. My wife's looking at me like, "Shut up, man." Hal Jordan in the GLC number 21.
Yep, written by Robert Venditti, pencils by V. Ken Marion, colors by Denny Ribeiro, and inks by Dexter Vines. So Rip and Hal Jordan head to where Sarkle is and attempt to put a stop to his mayhem. Rip seems uneasy and unsure about this coming confrontation. He doesn't have much faith in Hal, because he's already witnessed the future and has seen what Sarkle is capable of. Throwing in a humble brag, Hal assures his new friend that if anyone can put an end to this, it'd be the mighty Green Lanterns, especially himself, because he's, Hal Jordan. Meanwhile, John, Guy, and Kyle have taken off their rings and try to take on the Prisms of Will mano a mano. But not before we get a sneak...
This was so awesome,
Yeah, it was. But not before we get a sneak peek into Kyle's true feelings for Sornak.
Yeah, and their relationship was a lot of fun too. When this is over, if we live, I'm gonna take you on a date. She's like, deal.
Heroically, Hal is able to dig into the earth, find the gauntlet, and destroy it, erasing this takeover from history and ending Sarkle for good. As the Lanterns cheer their triumph, Guy rolls his eyes since he knows Hal is going to get all the credit again.
Jeez,
I know.
Taking all the credit.
Little do they know, Kyle sits alone and mourns for his dead son he never knew he had. Sarko! Will this revelation cause a rift between Kyle and the rest of the Lanterns? I love when I'm surprised. Like, it just doesn't happen anymore because everything's so...
Will Kyle and Saronic actually go out on a date?
Yeah.
Probably not now.
Well, he knows that she's the mom, so, like... Think about it. Okay, Ben, if you knew that we would have a child one day and it was going to be evil to try to take over the world, would you maybe be like, maybe not so on the kids?
Yeah, maybe.
So it'll be interesting how to
pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is cool.
I loved it. And I love that the Lanterns had to take off. So the prisms, they were made of pure will. So their rings really had no effect. So they take off their rings. And it's all these just badass, like, plainclothes people going. It was so cool.
I know. That's the part I loved was, like, the fact that they're non-powered and they're just, like, Guy Gardner is being Guy Gardner and just, like, scared to take me one-on-one, man, and, like, just, like, totally muscle-heading out. It's great, man. I love it. It's so great.
It is interesting at the beginning. The whole reason Sarko is here is because he says, does the yellow and the green combining, it ends up ending, like, the world almost. Like, it causes a lot of mayhem. So, since he wasn't able to stop him, are we going to see some bad things coming since the yellow and greens are together?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, I'm excited to see if maybe I've always thought the yellows could become good guys just because, like, there is a healthy amount of fear to have and there's some power in that, in being afraid, you know, like when I do woodworking, I have a healthy amount of fear for the table saw. And that keeps me safe. Is like, or when you're rock climbing, you have a healthy amount of fear to allow you to take certain preventative measures and treat certain things with the respect that it deserves because you're afraid of the consequences that it would have if, you know, so there is like a different side to the Yellow Lanterns that I think you could explore a little bit to where it's like fear can be a good thing sometimes. I mean, it's not the most like trying to operate in like by like bringing fear to the hearts of others isn't good, but you know, I don't know. So it may be something there. I don't know. We'll see.
It'd be cool to see if they have a baby, if like half yellow, half green.
Yeah.
Like the parents are waiting. What ring is he gonna get?
Yeah, it'll be just split right down the middle. Half of it will be yellow, and half of it will be green. So
anyway, I gave this one a good holy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Did you read this one?
I didn't.
No. Yeah, Noah's like, God.
I know there's gonna be about half the books, you guys. Just before warning that one says we could buy the shows that I didn't get a chance to read. But
I was like, I started school this week. And Dick is texting me, telling me I need to read more comics. And What classes are you taking this semester?
CRM, customer relationship management.
Fun.
Principles of advertising.
Ooh.
And I know. Actually, those two aren't bad compared to the last one, which is database and SQL.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm taking.
You're taking math?
I'm applied math. I'm trying to remember the other one. Oh, digital artistry, which sounds a lot more fun than it is.
Yeah.
It's actually Dreamweaver and HTML and CSS.
Oh.
So it's like digital artistry using lines of code and
right.
CSS style sheets and stuff. So
you're doing coding again?
Yeah, but it's not HTML and CSS. Like the HTML and CSS class is one where they like you just learn how to do code. Mm-hmm. This one they're actually teaching you how to use Dreamweaver, which is a program that so like you're learning the code is kind of like a secondary thing, whereas like you're more just learning how to build a web
things
page
on the program,
and stuff.
right.
Yeah, so it's fun. I like it. The reason I like it is because I have to be at school for like 6 hours a week, but they don't give you any homework. You literally do all your work in class.
Yeah, that'd be nice because mine's all homework. But
yeah. Oh, dude, and I have this web class that's applied math, and I'm struggling because like you have to be very disciplined with your time. Like you have to sit down for 10 hours a week and do the work.
We cover 2 chapters each week, and there's 2 discussion assignments you have to post. And 2 quizzes you have to take, and so when I get home from this, I've got 2 quizzes to take still. But those are the last thing I've got.
Yeah,
to do.
All of my work is due by midnight on Tuesday, so I'm off work tomorrow.
See, and that's the other thing too. Okay, we're like totally off on a tangent.
No,
not school year, but I know. Like, I have one class, the SQL one, that thankfully he's on that schedule where it's Tuesday. But the rest of them, we didn't start class till Tuesday, and they all have Sunday at midnight deadline. So we got like 2 days gypped on that. You know what I mean?
Sucks, man.
And so it's kind of like rushing through the first 2 chapters, and you're panicking because I got 2 less days
to work on
to
stuff.
do this. Yeah,
and you're like me. If something's due on Tuesday at midnight, 9 times out of 10 I'll be doing it all Monday. Like
right. Yeah, I don't do it early, but I certainly don't wait till the hour before.
I'd wait till the day before.
Yeah, the day before. That's exactly.
Yeah, that's just how we operate. So. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. I work really well under pressure. I read most of my books like an hour before the podcast. And I typically write my recaps like right before we podcast, and that's just how we do it. So we're off the cuff sometimes. All right, we'll get things moving on to some more comic books. So I have Batman Detective Comics number 957. Creative team on this is
James
Tynion the Fourth, Sabella, and hold on. I hated this one because the font they used for the creative team was like impossible to read. So it's Sabella and Tynion are writing, Carmen Carmero as pencils, Carl Story, Richard Friend, and Carmen Carcero are inks, and colors are by Javier Mena, M-E-N-A. Yeah. Mena? Okay, cool. So, Batman Detective Comics number 957. Spoilers doing her namesake justice and totally spoiling the bat signal every chance she gets. She hops up on the roof and sticks a sandal in the gears of the signal just before Harvey Bullock tries to turn it on. And there's some Gothamite on the street below walking around with one shoe on, totally pissed off that, spoilers stole their sandal. And then we get spoilers' inner monologue about how Batman stops villains, and that's all great except for one problem. People get hurt along the way, as all the villains try to one-up the Man in the Cowl. Well, this part was kind of boring to me because I've seen it all before. The artwork was pretty cool. There were some cool action shots of like spoilers swinging from rooftops and stuff, and that was kind of fun. So then we get another throwaway villain in this story arc. It's just like, I think this guy's name was Wrath, but honestly, I'm not sure. He referred to himself as Wrath. I don't know if like that's his name or he's just going to bring his wrath upon Gotham or what, but it's made pretty clear from the get-go that this guy's just a throwaway villain to be used as an example for the exposition of Spoiler and Stephanie Brown and all her stuff. So Wrath is trying to break into a TV studio so he can get a message to all the people about how he wants to destroy Batman. That same thing that we've just seen so many times with Batman villains. I mean, like, everyone wants to get on, break into the news station, get a message to the people that they're the biggest and baddest villain of all time. But not if Spoiler has anything to say about it. She shows up and totally spoils his plan, handing him over to Harvey Bullock and his team of cops at the end of the issue. And Harvey's like, "Hey, you're the one that's been messing with my bat signal. I'm going to arrest you." And Spoiler is like, "Smoke pellet bye." She sleeps. So she makes away just as Harvey tries to arrest her. And then on the very last page of the issue, we see a guy who I'm assuming is Anarchy.
I would assume.
Yeah.
That's the biggest takeaway you can, you're right, get from that. Yeah.
He has the Anarchy A on his sleeve, and he approaches Spoiler and tells her that he wants to help her in her fight against crime and Batman. Yep. And that's it. That's all we got this issue. So I will say that I like Stephanie Brown. I like her character design. I don't know if she's a strong enough character to carry her own issue. Maybe and if she is, I'd want to know a little bit more about her when she's not wearing the costume, than trying to approach it from just like, okay, we know this costume vigilante is seeing her in a side character, so we're going to show you more of her in a costume fighting people. I feel like the way to give us more exposition on Spoiler and Stephanie Brown would be like, maybe show her like in real life, like trying to cope with the loss of her boyfriend Tim Drake. Maybe show her, like, make us feel connected to her, because I don't really connect with the superheroes. I connect with their alter egos. I don't connect with Superman. I connect with Clark Kent. I don't connect with Batman. I connect with Bruce Wayne, stuff like that. So while it was fun just to see like this hero jumping around stopping a villain, I mean, that's all just stuff we've seen before. It's kind of like just the Flash and none of the like the meat and potatoes, So I don't know. What did y'all think?
I completely agree, especially in detective comics. I really think they need to make a Bat Family book and stick all this in there.
Yeah, man. Like there is zero detective work in this book ever. I mean,
sure, right.
We don't even see Batman sometimes.
Like even with Batman, I like show her at a crime scene doing forensic shit. You know, like make it look like she's actually doing detective work. I mean, like. In Superman Action Comics, it's tons of action. They hold true to the name Action Comics. I feel like in Detective Comics, it should be like a detective book.
Yeah,
know?
it is more of a rotating Bat Family book, though. It's just it seems like the name's misleading, or they should adapt it to its name. But
am I wrong in like wanting that, or is that like tradition? Is just like it's always just been a Batman book and not really detective?
I don't know. To that, I do know it has a tradition of rotating characters in the story arc. It's not always about Batman. But, Batwoman's had some very good detective, comic stories and things. Of course, those involved a lot more detective work. You had the Monster Man mystery and the thing with her sister Alice back, years and years and years ago or whatever. So, I get that. I liked it. I did read this one. Because I like Stephanie Brown, and I was curious to see how it went. And it was a lot of the same. But I still overall liked it.
Yeah, and I can't say I shouldn't have said I don't know if she's strong enough to hold her own book, because I think any character is a strong enough person. Like I think you could write a book around Stephanie Brown, but you have to do it in a way that people connect to it. You have to tell
right. Was this the right story to tell for her right now?
I really would have liked to have seen an issue of her without the costume on, and then do this issue, because then you're like. You understand why she's doing what she's doing.
Right, because they did a good job with, I thought, Cassandra Cain, I can't think of her name, Orphan, and Lady Shiva, how they, gave you connected to her more through her family and her tragedy and, things like that. So.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
Completely.
So I'm going to give this one a blessing. And it's almost in purgatory, guys. It's just Detective Comics has kind of been wearing on me a little bit as of late. It just seems like there's just too many cooks in the kitchen right now for a book. I feel like they have this rotating thing where they focus on Orphan for a little while. They focused on Batwoman before that, and then that spun off into a new series. Now we're focusing on Spoiler, and it's hard to invest in it because, I feel like there's not much that's going to come of this, what is this? Is this the Wrath of Spoilers? So it's a one-off. I mean, they don't even say part 1 in here. So I know that this is just kind of like a one-off thing. Right. I mean, it might be a few issues, but I don't feel like it holds a lot consequentially for me. So if you want a Batman book, I feel like the Tom King one's probably a better read for you. But if you're into Spoiler and one that I'm really interested in is it Bluebird?
Bluebird's a new character.
What's her name? What's her real name?
I don't remember because she's a new character that's been introduced just within the last couple.
What was she in?
Years. She's got the blue.
Harper
Row.
Yes. She's kind of a punk girl. She has blue hair and a nose ring and stuff, and obviously I like character. Right. I love seeing Pierce tattooed people in this story pop up. It's just cool to me to see that. So when they first started this book, you saw Harper Row pop up. I had never seen her before. She was in the New 52,
right?
But I looked up a lot about her, and she kind of put away the cowl and said she's done being a vigilante. But then she showed up in this story, so I was excited to see maybe them go off in that direction with her. So I hope we still get that. This story just has so many characters, man. We've got Clayface, Orphan, Spoiler, Bluebird. Who else?
Anarchy. What's the throwaway dude?
Azrael.
Yeah. Batman, obviously. Batwoman.
The new little boy, the new little psychic. Lucius' sons.
Oh, the black kid?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not in this. Oh, Lucius. No, that's a different guy. Oh, Lucius Fox's son.
Fox.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the guy who has the yellow suit. So that's 10 main characters in a book. It's getting a little crowded in here, but we'll see where it goes. I'm sure they'll pick it back up at some point. So we'll keep things moving here and talk a little bit about Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad number 18, a story by Bob Williams and art by Tony S. Daniel. Your future is dead. The story so far, thanks to a kryptonite bomb implanted in his skull, Amanda Waller is able to draft none other than General Zod into the Suicide Squad.
I love it.
I love that it rhymes, too.
Yeah, nice.
It could be like Etrigan here. Following a battle with the Russian Annihilation Brigade, Zod decides he is no one's prisoner and begins to cut the kryptonite bomb out of his own brain.
Yeah, Amanda Waller kind of bit off more than she could chew with this one.
Just a little bit. We get, I think, one of the craziest opening scenes I've read in a comic book in a long time. And it was, I'm not usually a fan of just super violence and gross stuff and whatever. But this was great. This was great. Zod uses his laser vision to surgically, shall we say, remove the kryptonite bomb from his brain and literally leaves half of his brain exposed.
I know, this is so great, man. The whole issue, he's just beating the hell out of people with his brain hanging out of his skull.
Yep.
It's like something from an Eminem song.
And he's screaming into the mirror as his blood's just splurting out. You're just like, oh my God.
It's awesome.
So now Zod, with half of his brain exposed, begins wreaking havoc on Amanda Waller and the Bell Rev crew. But just before General Zod evaporates Amanda Waller with his heat beams, the Suicide Squad rushes in to the rescue. Zod uses the Black Vault, which is a portal to the Phantom Zone, to unleash wraiths from the Phantom Zone to attack the squad. It begins to look like the wraiths of the Phantom Zone have the upper hand on the Suicide Squad when all of a sudden Cyborg, Superman, and the Eradicator drop in. But when the Eradicator states that they will obliterate all who stand against the children of Krypton, we have to wonder what they're there for and whose side they're on.
Yep.
We should have done Action Comics before this.
Oh
yeah.
Right. It would have fit in. That's so good, yeah.
Amanda Waller, her squad goals were too big. Hashtag squad
goals.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
That's good. For me, as usual, the Suicide Squad's fun, action-packed read. Zod spices up the mix so much that even though one of my biggest complaints is that because of the movie, you have the same cast and you kind of know none of them are going to die, and that to me takes away some of the thrill of the Suicide Squad. But adding General Zod in here was add enough spice to definitely make up for that. And even though, like I said, it's lost a little bit of its originality over the years, it's still super fun. And I gave it a holy.
Nice. I agree. I really I'm so happy we started the Communion show because this got me to jump onto some books that I wouldn't normally read. Last week was a really crappy week for comics for me. It's a bad week when my two favorite books are Aquaman and Harley Quinn.
Right.
But I was excited because it's I found jumping on points for Aquaman and Harley Quinn, and they were actually really good issues. Mm-hmm. I read Harley Quinn, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Her freaking out about her parents coming to town and stuff, and that makes me like Suicide Squad even more too. Is when I'm reading a book with Harley Quinn in it.
It's really weird to see her with Rick Flag, though.
Yeah, she
those are
gets it on with Rick Flag a little bit, which usually you kind of see her in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Here and there or whatever. But
it was a pretty gratuitous sex scene.
It was a little bit, but I gave it a pass because it's Suicide Squad, and so I think sex and violence, you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
I mean, man, in Assault on Arkham, you see Harley.
I say that
she's topless,
that
literally
was worse.
straight up, and that's wow, we just saw a topless girl in a DC comic film.
And they made Killer Frost get naked to sneak in.
Yeah.
What point?
Yeah.
Did taking your suit off help?
I know, right? Although I will say I liked our Assault on Arkham as a movie. I thought,
despite its flaws,
it did have flaws, but I thought that was the movie that they should have used as a template for Suicide Squad. I feel like they could have followed that. Even the way that the Joker was used in that movie would have been a really good use for the Joker in Suicide Squad. But they kind of did, and every time I watch Suicide Squad, I like it a little bit more.
I like it a little bit less.
Yeah, Ariel is not a fan. A lot of Flash, a lot of Flash, but there's a lot of nostalgia there for me. I think as a comics fan, so I enjoyed this issue, man. Just flipping back through it, the stuff with Zod and his brain hanging out of his skull is just nuts.
Yeah, Captain Boomerang lands a boomerang right into his brain, it's like. So funk squish or
what's the deal with this hammerhead who always says peanut?
I don't know because I picked it up a couple issues ago when they were fighting the Annihilation Brigade, and that's kind of like the Russian version of the Suicide Squad. So they've got this ragtag group of members, and one of them is a man with a gigantic curved hammer as a head.
I mean,
and when he talks, all you see is like a peanut symbol. So he just says peanut or something all the time. I don't
even know how to hear.
How you hear it, right?
Peanut. That's what I think he
says. But they killed all of his squad members in the last. Yeah, nuts probably in the last thing. And then just when Zod's about ready to evaporate a man, he comes over and head butts him with his hammer. It's like nuts.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah,
Zod's like, I will never understand this world.
Yeah, I know. And then he's like, I'll give it order or whatever. And yeah, I mean, like, then Cyborg, Superman, the Eradicator show up, and I have a feeling this is right after how Action Comics left off, sequentially. So, yeah. But we will talk about Action Comics in a bit. First off, we're going to talk about Deathstroke number 19. Ariel?
Yep. Deathstroke number 19, written by Priest, Benjamin Percy, and Dan Abnett. Pencils by Carlo Paglana, Roberto Vicava. Inks by Jason Paz, Sean Parsons, and colors by Jeremy Cox. So Redhead Wally West catches up to Deathstroke, who now has super speed, but to his horror finds that he's unable to stop the masked madman. Then we finally get a glimpse to the past where we see Dick, still as Robin, making a deal with the devil. Can I tell you exactly what the deal was? No, because I got a little lost in the dialogue. All I understand is there was a contract and Slade wanted his daughter to be taught good values by Dick. Then I don't really know how it progressed from that. This is all happening while Slade's like, aren't you a little too old to be dressed as a Robin anymore? Which I thought was pretty funny.
Right.
And that was a flashback, right?
Yeah.
This
is
cool.
Too when the contract
he was talking to
made.
Nightwing now, or Dick Grayson, rather. Yeah, okay.
The Titans and Teen Titans are gathered around trying to figure out how to approach this serious situation. Younger Kid Flash is getting grief from Damian about being a helping hand in Deathstroke's success. Because he was the one that's like, yeah, I'll help you. Because he thought it would be the end of Deathstroke. Even worse, Kid Flash realizes that super speed is gone. This leaves only Redhead Wally able to fight against a killer speedster. But he's not alone. Wally enlists the help of Slade's son Jericho to take down good old Dad. A little too late, as he finds the final page shows that Deathstroke has gone to the past and is hugging his son Grant. I really like this issue. Again, did you guys read it?
Yep.
I did, yep.
I was kind of confused with the contract bit. I was like, so what was the actual contract?
Yeah, I mean, I was also confused by a lot that was going on, and then I also get confused because I get confused with the group he's forming, you know what I mean, and where we're dealing with, and I'm on the fence. I mean, I still like the issue, and I know it's probably temporary, but I'm just on the fence with him getting super speed. Yeah. I just
honestly, man.
Some people think it's cool, but I just am kind of like seen that kind of before a little bit. I mean, enough with Reverse Flash being so important to this last button thing. It's just kind of like, oh, okay. But
I honestly, man, I feel like who is the guy who wrote this? Priest he's the normal writer on Deathstroke. Yeah. I feel like he kind of got strong armed into writing this mini series, and he's like, this issue had a lot of recap in it of the Deathstroke story. It was heavy on the recap for an issue being involved in the Lazarus contract, but it wasn't enough recap for me to I haven't been reading Deathstroke, so I didn't understand a lot of this. It just feels like his heart really isn't in this team up, and I really don't like the Lazarus contract. I'm not excited about reading any future issues of it. They're tying it all up in one annual coming up, but I don't know, man. I'm just not. Have you guys been into the Lazarus contract at all? I mean, that's such a classic story back from the day that they're revisiting now. I don't know how. And I'm a on the fence fan of the old one. I mean, there's things I like a lot about it because it's notable for when Robin turned into Nightwing, and I love the Titans and the Teen Titans, so I love any stories. But it has the whole creepy Terra factor, and there's a few faults with it as well. But overall, I liked the old one, and I have not made up my mind on
the revisitation yet.
I just don't. I feel like they're crossed over too many books because we have Titans, Teen Titans, and Deathstroke all crossing over. I feel like Priest wasn't really on board for this. He just wants to write his Deathstroke story because I feel like even the way he wrote this book, like with the black boxes and the typewriter font, like none of that type of writing is in either. So if you're reading this as a graphic novel, this part would seem really out of place.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he was like, oh, you guys are going to make me write this. Fine. I'm going to write it my way. And like, you know.
And then there was like flashbacks of Slade being a horrible father to Jericho and Grant, and it didn't really pertain to the story other than, we know Deathstroke's a dick. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like it was like he threw stuff in here that didn't really belong in the team up. You know, I feel like this would have been better suited if they just made it an event and literally had it be its own line of books and didn't try and cross it over. Yeah. Crossovers are always really tough for me, though. It's hard to cross over books unless, like, when Superman and Action Comics crossed over, that made sense because it's the same core characters in both of those storylines. But when you're crossing over, like, Titans, Teen Titans, and Deathstroke, that's three different types of comics to me. I mean, Teen Titans is very, like, cartoony, kiddie. Titans is more of, like, a Young Justice thing, and and Deathstroke is like Pulp Fiction meets the DC universe. I mean, so I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan. I gave this one Purgatory, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at Purgatory for the finale too. But
I did give it a blessing. I think, despite the actual story not being great, the characterizations feel very natural and true.
Yeah, I will give them that.
And that's pretty important to me. Like, I feel like I'm reading the actual characters. So I gave it a blessing.
Yeah, I gave it a blessing, too. I thought the art was really good.
Oh, the art was great, too.
And
Yeah, maybe I'm being too hard on it. I haven't been reading Deathstroke, but so a lot of it was really confusing for me.
I mean, if you end up finding yourself confused, you know, you go with what.
but it all depends on what because I know, Ariel, you've been reading Deathstroke since like day one, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we will move things on. Actually, let's take a break. I want to grab something to drink. So we'll take a break, and we will be right back. All right, and we're back. I miss you, Josh Aldini. Josh hasn't been on the show in a long time. I miss him to death, but he'll come on sometime, hopefully. So, all right, what are we at here? We're at 1 hour, 1 minute, 32 seconds. 1 minute, 32. Yeah, that's not too bad, actually. We've done pretty good. All right, so I'm going to kick things off with Superman Action Comics, number 980. So we open up with Cyborg Superman and his many minions sort of recapping what's gone on in previous issues leading up to this current issue. This is sort of a gratuitous thing that Dan Jurgens did, which, by the way, writer on this one is Dan Jurgens, and art is Zurcher is the pencils and inks, I believe, and Hi-Fi did the color, which is like a conglomerate company or whatever. This is sort of a gratuitous thing that Jan Jurgens sort of doing to help us like keep up to speed with the book. The content of these couple pages was kind of wasted on me just because I have been reading the story. But the artwork depicting all these bad guys in one place was just gorgeous and absolutely made it worth it. Meanwhile, Superman and Lois have uprooted their family of 3 and relocated to downtown Metropolis. I kind of have a feeling the reason they decided to do this was the events of the Superman story arc that's happening right now, where they're finding out that, like, Hamilton County is fake, but they haven't concluded that story arc. I feel like when that story arc ends, it's going to decide with them being like, okay, we need to move to Metropolis. So I feel like this is a continuity issue here where it's like maybe, you know, they should have waited or something, but, you know, you just can't. So many stories going on, just you have to accept that sometimes. So, but the story, that story isn't quite finished yet. So nonetheless, Jonathan is not that stoked about them moving out of Hamilton County. He has friends there and doesn't want to be uprooted. Superman's explaining to them that they'll be safer there and it's more convenient for Lois and her job at the Daily Planet. Then Supes tells Lois that he needs to go and take care of Blanc and the Eradicator. And Lois can kind of tell that he's kind of afraid of this team that's sort of forming against him. But that all goes unsaid, and Superman flies off to take care of his business. So, and yeah, it's just sort of like Lois can tell Superman is worried, but they don't say it to each other. It's just this unspoken thing that happens. So it's not surprising that the first place that Supes heads to try and track down Metallo and Eradicator is the Watchtower. It is a bit surprising that it's Batman hanging out at the Watchtower and not Cyborg. Seriously, I think the Watchtower is Cyborg's man cave. Like, that's like in every book, whenever the Watchtower comes up, it's just Cyborg chilling there. Bats tells Superman that there's an energy signature that's...
It used to be Martian Manhunter.
Well, did it?
Used to,
Oh, really?
He used to man the Watchtower, but then Cyborg comes along and...
So I took it over,
man. Took it over, yep.
No more. So Bats tells Superman that there's an energy signature that's unique to the Eradicator coming from the Bell Rep prison, and Supes goes on about how he's not the biggest fan of the Suicide Squad. The two talk a little bit back and forth about the Suicide Squad and how Batman's like, well, you know, they're bad, yes, but, you know, I can't really stop them. You know, Amanda Waller's a beast, and, you know, they end up doing some good, and Superman's like, no, that's not cool. I don't like it, but, you know, he has bigger things to worry about right now. So then Supes decides to head on over and take care of the Eradicator. So the Eradicator and Cyborg Superman are trying to break into Bell Rev and get General Zod to join their I Hate Superman fan club. They're drilling into something that's called the Black Space Vault, which I've never heard of. Have y'all heard of this before?
It's cool, though.
I assume it's probably similar to the Black whatever Vault the Suicide Squad and General Zod were...
It is, yeah, because it's a Bell Rev, so it's the same thing.
Oh, the same thing, exactly, yeah. It's just a portal to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, what I got from the book was it's a vault that's just full of black space that makes whoever's inside of it very disoriented and lost. But I did also, they also said something about the Phantom Zone, so I assume that this is a link to the Phantom Zone. So Eradicator came with Cyborg Superman to kind of keep him tethered to reality and not lose himself in the vault, which those two are there to get General Zod, by the way, which is what we saw come to fruition in Suicide Squad. The two get inside the vault and Superman shows up. There's a very small confrontation between Cyborg Superman and regular Superman. Both of them start to lose themselves to the Black Space Vault, and the Eradicator grabs Cyborg Superman and takes him away. Meanwhile, Superman is getting visions of his dead mom and dad, which I don't think Martha is even dead yet at this point.
I'm not sure. I've read enough Superman to know.
I don't think so, but she could be. I don't know. Yes, a listener will have to let us know.
Yeah.
But the final sequence of the issue shows a Superman being totally crowded by zombie versions of his loved ones, and it's to be continued next time. So I thought this issue was a lot of fun. I love Action Comics in general. I think they do a really good job. The villains are awesome. I love the way Metallo looks in it. Cyborg Superman. I think the only reason they met up was just so that they could show Superman that Cyborg Superman is here. I think this is a big team that Superman's got to go up against, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because I know he can't handle all of them by himself.
Right.
There's no way. Especially when you've got... what's Mongol in the mix too?
There, yeah.
I mean, like that's a lot for him to take on.
Yeah, it's hard for him to take on just any one of those people.
Yeah,
one on one, much less.
Yeah,
4 or 5 of them.
I mean, we've seen him try and take on the Eradicator, and that was a pain for him. I mean, like it almost ended up in him dying. He needed John's help. I know Metallo's caused him a lot of problems.
Yep. He's one of my favorite Superman villains.
Yeah, he is. I love
cool
Metallo.
Villain,
yeah, absolutely. The only part that really kind of bored me, like, I don't know, the whole drama between like the family and moving up north, like that's always kind of like, okay, I guess you have to have it there though.
It seems like they're really making a point to drill that into us.
Like he's part of a family and he's a dad and stuff. Yeah, they're really trying to drill that point home. And that's okay. Like, honestly, I'd rather have those moments than have the New 52 Superman who doesn't have a family and is a cold bastard.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd rather have like a family Superman that's kind and has a family to take care of and stuff like that. That's fine with me. So, overall, I really enjoyed this issue. I think I give it a holy. What do y'all think?
Oh, nice. I actually didn't read it. I more
just
skimmed it. And yeah, I wish I would have now, though, before I would have read Suicide Squad, because it does directly kind of like lead up to each other. But the art was good, and it was really interesting. But yeah, I don't have much of a personal review on it.
For some reason, it keeps having me reminisce about Return of Superman.
Well, yeah, because Cyborg Superman's evolved, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like I'm reading that again. I liked it. I thought it was funny that Batman's like, hold on, and I'll come help. And Superman was like, no, I don't need you. I really wanted a panel of Batman, like, looking disappointed.
Yeah. You're like, okay, fine. I'll stay here by myself.
I gave it a blessing.
All by myself. Yeah. You could have that song playing right after this. Okay, I'm done. All right, yeah. So what did you rate it, Ariel?
I gave it a blessing. Just because Superman's never been my thing, and so I don't really care about his all-time bads as much.
Yeah. I don't know. I do. I think Rebirth has made me care about Superman. I really didn't care about him very much before Rebirth started, but then Action Comics and Superman books came out, and it was like, holy crap, these are awesome. So ever since that, I've been really into it. Still not my favorite DC comic book character, but a lot of fun. So we will move things on to my favorite DC comic book character, Batgirl.
Batgirl number 11. Story is by Hope Larson, and art is by Chris Wildgoose. This is Son of Penguin, the finale. So basically what's been happening so far is that Batgirl and Ethan Cobblepot, who is the son of well-known Gotham crime boss the Penguin, have had a tumultuous off-again, on-again relationship. Ethan begins to operate under the name Black Sun and attempts to take over his father's company. Batgirl drops in on Penguin and Ethan, thinking she's going to stop an attempt on the Penguin's life. Which she is, only this isn't just any old murder attempt. It's one designed to look like a flash mob. Because, see, Ethan Cobblepot is into data mining and analytics. So this vector suit he has created has allowed him to control people from the data he's mined from their online habits. Ethan, as Black Sun, commands the flash mob to attack. Barbara realizes she may be able to stop Ethan if she can get him somewhere remote without a signal. No cell signal in Burnside?
Right.
Batgirl lures him to Prospect Park.
How are they going to access all their social media
Exactly.
accounts?
The push notifications are not going to go off, people. What are we going to do?
Mayhem.
So once they get to Prospect Park, she's able to shut down Black Sun's vector suit because apparently there's no cell reception at the park. When his suit malfunctions, it causes severe burns to Ethan's body. In a disturbing final scene, we see the Penguin's henchmen kidnap Ethan from his hospital bed and bring him to his father, the Penguin, who welcomes him home with a sinister grin. Creepy.
He's like, you're a bad guy now.
You're a bad guy now.
Now I'm going to accept you as my son. Now that
you're not a pretty boy anymore.
You're a total dick, and you're ugly now.
Yep. For me, this story arc ended stronger than it began, but the whole vibe of the Batgirl solo book is just not my favorite. Not that it's bad, but we've kind of talked before. It to me, it's Batgirl the solo book seems a lot more geared towards a young female audience, which is great because she's a great character to market towards that demographic. And the Batgirl that we see in Birds of Prey is a little bit more of the butt kicking, no dating type. Strong woman that most of us know and remember and stuff. So, it all kind of just depends on what you're looking for. But the book's fun and also silly in parts. You don't, some of the over the top violent things like what happens in Suicide Squad isn't your bag, then maybe Batgirl will be. For a lighthearted take on the Bat family. But I also think it's kind of odd that she would have dated the Penguin's son to begin with. So that's, my big
absolutely
red flag from the whole start. But
and then she was like, "Oh, well, we could have been."
Right? Like, yeah. No,
false.
You couldn't have.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't hate this book because I love Batgirl. I feel like maybe there are times they write her a little stupid, honestly.
It gets into
too smart,
into the goofy with with that whole data mining and that's super current and tech right now, but at the same time,
actually, and there was one part I feel like it was a missed opportunity because early on in the story arc, like she was stopping a robbery where someone stole someone else's phone and put it in a bag, and it was a bag that wouldn't. I forget what it was called. But it was some type of bag that was lined with something that wouldn't allow connections to go out of it. And they made it a point to explain what this bag was. It was lined with something that wouldn't allow connections to go out. So I thought that was a cool opportunity to where, like, if maybe they were going to use that technology again, or she learned how to use that technology to keep Cobblepot's son, encased in so that he could.
Yep. And instead, she dresses up like Nightwing.
Yeah,
and tricks him into getting jealous.
That would have been a really smart way for them to make her seem smart. And
right.
I've always said, and I heard this from someone else. I didn't make it up, but there's two ways you can write Batgirl. Is you can write her as a Buffy the Vampire Slayer strong female lead that's smart and has her shit together and knows how to handle pretty much anything, or you can write her as a social media obsessed millennial kind of stupid girl
trying to find her way.
And I feel like I really hate it when you write her as the latter, because I feel like Gail Simone wrote her as just this really amazing character. But it wasn't all bad. I mean, there were parts that she did really well in, and I feel like the finale did end stronger than it started. So.
And I like there was one part where talk about her being smart. The one thing I did like about it was when Ethan said something about a murmuration, and she's like, I know that word. And, she's got a photographic memory, an edict memory, which is one of my favorite things about her. And so you kind of see her like thinking her brain. She's like, put that together to realize the connection with his vector suit and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool. But for me overall, I mean, it was a blessing. It was not a bad book, but it's just not exactly my thing.
Not the best
as
either.
far as right.
Yeah, I think I'm at blessing too. I don't think it was a bad book by any means. I think the art is really cool. I think the pages that are just showing her swinging around and stuff, those are just classic Batgirl, with her new outfit, and that's awesome. I love that, but there were flaws, so I'm still at a blessing on it as well. What do you think, Ariel? You're looking at me like you're at purgatory.
I feel like I'm going to be too negative and people are going to hate me.
No, you don't. No, you're fine.
I don't like the art. I didn't like the characterization. I don't like the plot line. I gave it blasphemy.
Whoa.
I was really,
that's strong.
Really disappointed in it. Yeah.
We got to talk, because you give blasphemies and salvations out like they're free candy.
Because how I feel. Like, this isn't like...
No, if you hated it.
A logical thing.
Yeah. What don't you like about the art?
I don't like how she's drawn. Like, she has this weird hairdo, and sometimes she has holes in her ears.
It's sort of Cartoon Network-y.
Yeah, they did put like plugs in her ears sometimes, which is like their gauges, or like she has the stretched earlobes sometimes, and I thought that was a little odd. And I mean, I'm all for pierced up characters, but like stretching your earlobes is something that you never I had mine stretched and I had to get plastic surgery to remove them. So once she has them, she always had right. So it's maybe
they're the faux ones that just look like it, but actually have a little pin through it.
I don't know.
When she found out there's no signal, she was randomly spying on these two girls, and one of the girls was like, "Oh, I can't get signal."
Yeah,
it was just really weird and random and nuts. That's not how she does it. She would have known or something. I don't like it. It's upsetting to me.
I feel like the art was...
I don't like the art.
Really?
I haven't since this new artist jumped on.
I like it better than the old artist, actually. I couldn't stand the old artist, though. The way they just drew... I don't know. When something happened, they almost drew a map to show how it happened or whatever. But anyway, we can move things on to our final book of the week, and that is my least favorite book of the week, but actually not as bad as it was. So JLA, what do you got for us?
Written by Steve Orlando, and artist is Jamal Campbell.
What number is this?
Number 7. So Ryan and Frost are at a museum examining an ancient old baby boy who appears to have had the same abilities as Frost. This discovery leads to a hopeful attempt at trying to find a cure for Frost's sickness. Suddenly, two beasts jump in and begin attacking the duo. Frost and Ryan quickly realize these were the guards, and someone turned them into these beasts. So they split up. Ryan starts fighting the two guards, and Frost goes to the real bad guy, whose name is Terror Smith. And she compels him by threatening him pretty much to release the two beasts back into their human forms. And they go back to researching this baby boy, and they realize there's nothing really special about him, so they can't really take a cure from him. We learn that Frost may have some feelings for Ryan, but for his sake and his life, she's going to have to keep them away. Despite this, Canary urges Frost to take a chance. It's nice to see some more realistic dynamics between the JL members begin to form. Meanwhile, always the pest, Amanda Waller is cooking something up with terror itself. I actually really like this issue. I give it a holy, man. I've not liked JLA at all, but I really liked when the team was split up. I felt like we were able to get a little more one-on-one with them. Like even Lobo was with Black Canary, and that was kind of a cute little piano or two of those two. And I really liked Frost and Ryan's little dynamic.
Yeah, I thought this issue was better than it has been. I'm still at a blessing or maybe even a purgatory on it because I just feel like they got off to kind of a rough start with it. But I do feel like they kind of picked things up a little better in this issue and kind of got us into like, you know, breaking things up, focusing on just one group of characters instead of trying to focus on like a whole mess of characters, the pull of Walking Dead, you know. So so yeah, I enjoyed this one a little more than I have. Did you read it, Noah?
Yep. And you know, I without a doubt have enjoyed it more than I've enjoyed some of the past issues. I have to admit, Justice League of America has disappointed me. It's gone the route that Justice League has, and I just have found it uninteresting.
Steve Orlando too. You would expect that to be better,
right? I know, and so you know, with this one, I did like I loved the art because it was like that painted style, and that's just really fun for a change, and so I really liked. I like seeing my characters depicted like that, and the scene in particular I liked was Black Canary fighting, going through practice moves with Killer Frost, and you could see all her judo stances and things like that.
That was cool.
And she was barefoot. And it was just badass and cool. But what I just said brought it from a purgatory to a blessing for me,
and that's where I'm at, too.
It's a blessing at this point, but it would take just a little bit to teeter right back to the other way, which is I'm afraid what might happen.
I'm a little scared of that as well.
I think this antagonist could be really cool too. I really hope they do more with him.
With the cats and
stuff.
He like
what?
I was like,
ooh,
that
he turns you into your worst fear.
Yeah,
I don't know. I love horror.
It certainly has potential.
Yeah, exactly.
It does.
But
absolutely.
Both Justice League and Justice League of America tend to squander their potential when it's given to them. I feel, but
we could talk all day about that. Yeah.
You make very poor decisions.
Yeah.
So two blessings and a holy.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. So that's all we got for you guys this week. If you want to reach out to us, again, we have a listener line where you can call and leave us a voicemail. It's at 641-715-3900, extension 345703. Leave us a voicemail. We may play it on the show. If you want to email us, you can email me at nerdchurchradio@gmail.com. Ask me questions. Have something to read on the show, whatever. We want to interact with you. We have a Patreon page where you can donate to us and help us keep the lights on. It's at patreon.com/nerdchurchradio. And if you want to find me personally on Twitter, I am at IndieComicBen. Where can people find you, Noah?
You can find me on most social media sites at Noah O'Toole.
And Ariel.
I am Ariel the Oracle on Twitter.
Awesome. And if you want to read our reviews, they come up every Wednesday at midnight Central Standard Time, nerdchurchradio.com. And with that, I will say peace be with you.
And also with you.
Peace out, planet Earth.
This is a wrong show. Yeah. Later, everyone.